Next question comes from Ben Hanson, and he writes in and says, Joe, did you see that weird trailer for that version of Final Fantasy 15 on iPhones?
Now I think this should get question of the week.
I think this is a very good one. I wanted to talk to you about this, Joe, because there's some news from Gamescom. I think we'll probably talk about it more next week. But this one is so bizarre to me because remember on the Final Fantasy 15 cover story trip, I believe at a certain point we talked to Director Tabata, and he's like, we're not interested in doing a Final Fantasy 15 2. This would be a self-contained thing. And that gives the impression that, like, okay, cool, one and done. Here we go. Yep. Maybe a couple side projects with the movie, the anime. But the side projects and the width of Final Fantasy 15's versions and ports have gotten so absurd that now they're making a version for mobile. Reeves, Jeffem, have you seen this?
Is this the RTS one?
No.
That's all I see is a video for that RTS thing.
Well, it's not an RTS. It's like a Clash of Clans clone. They are pushing that so hard. It's every ad on Snapchat I get. I get done looking at someone's Snap, and then it's just an ad for this Final Fantasy 15 mobile game set within the 15 universe. Just real quick before we get into this version, I guess we should explain. King's Glaive, Final Fantasy 15 movie. Brotherhood's the anime. King's Tale is the arcade beat-em-up spin-off of Final Fantasy 15.
Yep.
Final Fantasy 15, A New Empire, is that online strategy game, the Clash of Clans one. Monster of the Deep, Final Fantasy 15, is the VR fishing game. Justice Monsters 5 is the iOS bizarre spin-off game as well.
And in-game of 15.
That's right. Yeah. And King's Knight technically is within the Final Fantasy 15 universe. That's the remake of Square's first game that's on mobile as well. And now they're making a version of Final Fantasy 15, which is insanity. I can't think of another instance of this where in theory, it's all of Final Fantasy 15, except, and it's like same animations and like camera for the cutscenes at least, except they made like chibi weird versions of all the characters.
Wait, what?
So
wait, in the same story?
Yes.
It's not totally clear, but I mean, like they talk about it like it being an all new retelling. So I think it's also episodic, which is weird. But like basically what it is a retelling of Final Fantasy 15 story split up into 10 episodes. First one is free. But like from the trailer, it doesn't seem like it's just like, hey, it's Final Fantasy 15, but just with a different coat of paint that works better on mobile.
It certainly looks like that in some ways, not the combat.
Right. So what I mean is like, I don't think that this experience is going to be like, oh, it's just like Final Fantasy 15, but a different art style. I think that they are definitely going to be like the content will be different. I think. I don't think it's just going to be all of the same big quests and all of that stuff. I think that it's going to be a more compact version.
I would assume so, but it's so crazy to see cutscenes and like Sydney's introduction and stuff done with just this completely different art style. Reeves, you've got to check it out. It's wild.
It sounds weird.
What seems especially weird about it to me is that like the art style, I don't like the art style, I guess. Like,
I kind of do. It kind of looks like Final Fantasy 4 on DS or something.
What I was hoping is that it would look a little more like World of Final Fantasy. I think they really hit a great sort of like storybook, like diorama looking chibi thing.
Yeah.
That I kind of was hoping that this would be lifting when I heard the news of what it was. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, it just looks like, I don't know. It has that same just general unimpressive 3D RPG on iOS that I'm just like, no.
But to be fair, like the story is also unimpressive.
Look, I'm excited. I didn't finish 15, and there's a part of me that is really intrigued seeing that combat because I wasn't really in love with the combat of 15 from the couple hours that I played of it for the finished release. And the idea of just like an overhead camera isn't whizzing around everywhere. It's much more simple and streamlined. I think I'm kind of into it. There's a small part of me that wants to play through all of that mobile version just to see what it's like on iOS.
I'm curious to see how the action worked and if they did change anything. Are they going to have side quests and all that? Like, how do you manage that?
I bet it's going to be more similar than you think, Joe. If I had to go on a limb and say nothing.
They're doing it in 10 episodes, though. And like the game has more chapters than that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So they're going to section off in really bizarre ways?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, talking about the game itself, I also, in this run-up, I forgot to mention, are releasing 4-player DLC for Final Fantasy 15. And then episode Gladiolus, Prompto are out now. They're releasing episode Ignis. Like, they're still rolling out insanely ambitious DLC.
And they announced the PC version.
That's right. 15 will never leave us.
Did that game sell well? Like
it did.
It
yeah.
felt like, maybe it's just my experience with it of like being like sort of let down by the whole experience. But I'm like, it didn't seem like it was received well, right?
It was.
Fans really liked it.
I think Joe really liked it. I think overall it seemed like okay.
I mean, I did not review this game.
That's right.
But Reiner gave it an 8.5. I think it got a lot of scores in the 8s and some higher.
Yeah.
I mean, some lower, obviously, too. But
Sure.
I mean, I think I don't know what its meta score or whatever is offhand, but I think it's probably somewhere in the 80s.
Yeah, I think.
I think that qualifies as like well received. If I'm also remembering news stories from the time correctly, I feel like there was something about it like being one of like the fastest selling.
Well, here was the catch with
series
that.
or
I remember
something,
it
but-
seemed like because that was the day of launch. It seemed like Square had that ready to go because it was the first Final Fantasy launched worldwide on the same day,
Mhm.
and so the press release sent out was like it's the fastest selling worldwide Final Fantasy on day one ever. It was like, well, yeah, but it was the first to ever be launched on the same day throughout the
Worldwide.
entire world as well.
That seems like splitting hairs. I wouldn't. Well, whatever. Maybe.
It seemed bizarre, but pop quiz, Joe.
Okay.
How many of the 15 mainline Final Fantasies are available on iOS right now? Final Fantasy 1,
Yes.
2,
Yep.
3,
Mm-hmm.
4,
Mm-hmm.
5.
I don't know about 5.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
6,
Yes.
7,
Yes.
8.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
No.
8 isn't?
8 isn't. 9.
9 is.
Yes. 10.
No.
11.
No.
Weird thing, I completely missed it. Nexon is making a mobile version of Final Fantasy 11. They showed like footage and screens of it last year.
But it's not out yet.
It is not officially out yet,
Okay.
and now 15's on the way. Obviously, 13 isn't ported to iOS. So a shocking amount
That's
of
a
those
lot of
games.
Yeah.
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 Wait, why did it skip 8?
I wonder why
feel like-
8 and not 9. That's,
I don't know.
Or,
Also-
reversed.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? And 9's on Steam as well.
Mhm.
8 isn't up there either. It's weird that they're bypassing 8 like that.
Huh.
Hey, Square, put Final Fantasy Tactics on Steam for the love of God.
Is it not?
No,
That's on
it's-
iOS.
It's a really good game, and I want to replay it.
But it is
Yeah.
on iOS, right?
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's like that saga, Final Fantasy 15, just will not stop. And I feel like it's been quietly bubbling in the
Well,
background, but it's worth looking at every once in a while
here's-
to try to figure out what the hell is going on.
I feel like they're undoing some of the goodwill that I had going into this. Like again, I really love Final Fantasy 15. I'm excited that they're doing all of these like updates and DLC for it, but I feel like they're sort of squandering some of the goodwill they cultivated because when they were going into it, they're like, "Look, we're not going to do a bunch of sequels. You're not going to we're not going to Final Fantasy 13 this over like multiple installments." So then that gets you feeling like, okay, they get it. They understand how they need to like regain the trust of their consumers. And then it's almost like they just couldn't help themselves. They see this game that's moderately popular, well received, and then they're like, we got to exploit it.
Is it that, or is it just a matter of, hey, that game costs so much money financially, we need to squeeze these assets and this engine in as many new ways as we can, and that means spin-offs, weird ports, everything you can imagine.
I'm sure that's it. I'm sure like from a business perspective it makes sense, but from a fan perspective, like and they talked about this when we went to go look at Final Fantasy 15 is that like part of what has eroded like the fan opinion of that franchise is excessive spin-offs and porting and side projects to the point where it's like the Final Fantasy name becomes diluted because it's hard to figure out like, oh, this is a core numbered one, so this is a real Final Fantasy.
Right.
Like at this point, the sea of side projects overshadows the like handful of actual releases, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But VR fishing, you gotta do.
Actually, I played some of that at E3. It's kind of funny.
Oh, really? You liked it?
Yeah.
It is a very silly idea. Oh, also Tabata teased at Gamescom that they're going to port 15 to the Switch too. So,
But you know that's going to be the iOS like this iOS game.
I cannot imagine.
It's got to be.
With touch controls, no.
I think it's going to be.
I wonder if they'd make a new version that's somewhere in the middle.
with those assets, but
right,
I mean,
but with the controller support.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll control like a normal game, but I
Yeah.
bet like the game you see on the screen is going to be the same as what you see on iOS.
I think that's it. That's my dream Final Fantasy 15. That's the one I want to play.
you just think like
All right,
visually
buddy.
they can't pull that off
I don't think so.
on Switch?
I can't imagine. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.